Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Margy Bartley back here joining us as a national board certified health and wellness coach, amongst many other accolades she's going to tell us in just a moment. But I know today we're going to dispel some myths. I'm excited to talk to you because she's our expert, and there's a lot of health myths out there, misconceptions, but we're going to get to those. But first, let's get to know Margy. If you don't know already, tell us a little bit about what you do.
You bet. I'm a nationally board certified health and wellness coach, as you mentioned. I'm also a certified personal trainer, certified group fitness coach, certified inclusive fitness trainer, food psychology coach, personal fitness chef, behavior change specialist, and diabetes prevention coach. And that's just some of them. I do have more.
Amazing. Well, excited to have you here. How can we reach out to you?
Reach out to me on Instagram at Almonds and Oranges Health. Or you can find me on the health coaching platform at InWell, which is IINWELL.com.
Beautiful. Well, thank you for being here today. And I know to start, we did want to talk a little about these health myths, right? And versus the facts. Where do we begin?
Yeah, nutrition and fitness myths and facts for sure. Some of the top ones that I tend to encounter, and that doesn't mean they are the absolute top ones, they're just in my own experience. Number one is fitness has to be really hard, really intense, and an hour every day at the gym, or, kind of why do it. That's number one. People do think that that's how it has to be, but the truth is you can do short bouts of exercise 10 minutes at a time, and still have that matter. And it's also not necessary for it to be structured exercise. And what that means is we often have the idea, so people believe, oh, it has to be, I have to change into my gym clothes. It has to be in a gym or with equipment or in some kind of certain environment that I have to sweat a lot, or it doesn't matter. But the truth is just getting up several times a day and walking briskly, you don't have to run, but if you're not moseying, just kind of doing a brisk walk, do that a couple of times a day, do some stretching, all of that adds up. And all of our activity throughout the day, so activity that you do walking to and from your car in the parking lot or taking stairs instead of elevators, all of those help metabolism stay revved up and burn calories. So there's a lot of different ways you can get exercise, let's quote that, exercise into your day without having to join a gym or go to a gym or make it really, really, really intense to make it count. So that's kind of number one.
Awesome. Number two?
For me, the second one that I hear a lot is you need to really restrict calories or to really follow restrictive diets in order to manage your nutrition and your eating. And in that way, then you're going to lose weight. I also, I'm going to tie those top two for me together.
Sure.
In a way that people often think that I need to really restrict calories at the same time I need to really increase exercise. And that is really a recipe for disaster, for trouble.
Yeah.
Your body needs the fuel of the food that you're eating. And if you restrict too much, you are actually going to slow down your weight loss process and slow down your metabolism, because when you deprive your body of the calories and nutrients that it needs, and then you are increasing the expectation of your energy output on your body, it's gonna slow down to try and cling to and hang on to the calories you are bringing in rather than lose weight. And sometimes people do see some initial weight loss when they do that, when they exercise hard and restrict calories, because of course you're just not taking in enough, but it will eventually slow down and even plateau. So it's really important to know that there's a range. So there's not a number. That's another thing people think, oh, there's a certain number of calories I should hit every day. But you can be within a comfortable range of calories depending on your energy output for the day. And also bearing in mind that age and gender and history, your past history. Last time we talked a little bit about the history in your lifetime, what your life story is leading up to that certain point. All of those things can really impact the way you are going to burn those calories. So just keep in mind. People should be patient with themselves and not try and restrict too much.
Oh, thank you for that. Interesting. And Margie, how do we reach you? Just remind us again.
Almonds and Oranges Health on Instagram, or you can reach me at inwell.com on the health coaching platform.
Wow, awesome. Thank you so much. So, talking about these health myths, misconceptions, what else is on that list?
Uh, let's see. Another thing that's on that list is let's revisit the gym, the idea that we have to be at a gym and do that. There's so many things you can do at home or on your own. You don't have to belong to a gym in order to do that. You also need to really make sure that you're not doing intense exercise every single day. And by intense, I'm going to qualify that into what we call the high intensity workouts. And just bearing in mind too, that the CDC and the American College of Sports Medicine both recommend that if you do high intensity exercise, what's also termed vigorous exercise, you really only need to accumulate over the course of a week 75 minutes of that. If you're doing moderate intensity exercise, the recommendation is 150 minutes per week. And that breaks down to about 60 minutes, 30 minutes a day, depending on how many days a week you do. You can spread it over 7, you can spread it over 5, etc. But one thing that people don't understand when they do high intensity exercise is that your energy system needs recovery too, just like muscles. So we often know, I think, at least in my experience, people tend to already kind of be aware that as far as strength training goes, that muscles need some recovery time.
Yeah.
Because I mean, everybody knows that, but a lot of people do. They don't always know what that means with recovery time, but they know, oh, well, I shouldn't be, working out my upper body every day, right? And that's why a lot of people alternate an upper body day and a lower body day. Yeah. And that's a great system to do. That's a great way to alternate that. But a lot of people don't understand that also applies to your energy system. So if you're doing really high intensity exercise one day, the next day you should take it easy. Do no intensity or just do some recovery work, and then give yourself at least 48 to 72 hours to recover, depending on where you are along that spectrum of exercise, how long you've been exercising, like what is your current fitness level. If you are just starting out trying high intensity, maybe you've been working out for a while, but you're just decided to try some high intensity exercise, go easy. Once every, I actually recommend 3 to 4 days, but again, it's also recommended by the ACSM, which is the American College of Sports Medicine, not to do it more than 2 to 3 times a week max. Your energy system. Yeah, your energy system needs recovery, and if you don't allow it to recover, you just keep taxing it, and you get really tired, and then people burn out, and like, oh, I don't know why I couldn't stick with it. Well,
yeah.
Not you, it was just your training plan wasn't great, right? So we see ourselves as failures instead of understanding that maybe we weren't on the right path for what we needed. And that's important for people to remember. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's always, it's a journey. It's an uphill battle, but there's going to be downside, right? There's not everything goes perfectly and smoothly when it comes to our nutrition, diet, and right. Let's be honest. We have a holiday weekend coming up, which I was going to ask you about too, and it's how do you resist the chips, the dip, the barbecues, it's very enticing. Do you allow yourself to treat a little to, but it
that's a perfect question too, because one of the other myths is if I want to be healthy, I have to give up all of my favorite foods and all of the things that I really like, all those little treats and things. If somebody just really has a sweet tooth or they just love chips and things, you don't have to never have those. They shouldn't be, what do I want to say? Like, you don't borrow them from your pantry and don't never have them. That does create more of a conflict where the harder you try and resist, the more likely you are to give in and binge. When we give ourselves permission to have some of those goodies, some of our favorites, and manage how we're having them and when we're having them, we do much better than if we try and resist never, like I'm never going to have those or I can't have those. So healthy eating isn't supposed to only be about being a vegetarian. That's a huge thing. I often have had people say, well, I know I need to lose weight, but I'm not going to just eat salads, Yeah. Well, of course not. That's not a good balanced diet. You need protein, you need carbohydrates. That's another myth that we can get to as well, as far as people thinking, oh, carbohydrates are bad, I should eliminate carbs. That's not true. But going
Wow.
into the holiday weekend, give yourself some permission. You already know you're going to be there. You're going to have some goodies around you. Give yourself permission to have what you want with those. Know that you plan ahead for that, and try and take a little bit smaller amount. One thing that can help is when you get that goodie food that you really enjoy, go sit down and relax and enjoy it so that you are being mindful while you eat it. Because when we stand, we're talking, we're eating, when we're distracted, it doesn't feel like we ate it. And then we eat some more of it because oh my God, I still want to taste some of that. Because research has shown that if we eat when we're distracted, eat in front of the computer at work, eat in front of the TV at home, talking with people, we consume more because we're not allowing all of our senses to enjoy and acknowledge the food. So my brain isn't engaging with the food when I'm talking and doing other things, right? So I'm not realizing I'm actually tasting and enjoying the food. I'm not looking at it. I'm not tasting it as much. So if you are mindful when you eat, you will feel more satisfied when you do eat it. So just relax into it, allow yourself some of your treats, and don't set yourself up for failure by saying I can't ever have that, right? Just give yourself permission to have what you want and take a reasonable portion and sit down and enjoy.
Thank you for that. We are halfway through. Gotta remind everyone how we reach you, Margie. Thank you.
You bet. Contact me at Almonds and Oranges Health on Instagram or at IINWELL.com. I'm a health coach on that platform. You can find me there as well.
Beautiful. Thanks so much. So, again, if you're just tuning in, just a little bit about the work you're doing. We're talking, nutrition, health, as a board certified, how do I say it? Because there's so
National
many.
Board Certified Health and Wellness Coach. I know
Thank you.
It's a
Yeah,
mouthful.
no. But today focusing on the myths, debunking myths. Okay, what else do we have?
Well, let's talk about carbs for a minute, because carbs get kind of a bad rep and people think, oh, I shouldn't have carbohydrates, or carbs are bad, or I'm cutting out all the breads. Well, first of all, carbohydrates are not just available in breads. So
Okay.
yeah, exactly. A lot of fruit and vegetables are high in carbohydrates, which I think illustrates for us more clearly that nature knows we need carbohydrates and supplies it more readily in foods than it does protein. So truly, we do need carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are literally the gasoline in your engine. It's turned into glucose, which is a fuel for your system. When you start cutting out all carbohydrates, or you go on a diet that's cutting out all carbohydrates, you are going to struggle with energy, period, the end, And I know the keto diet has become very popular. People want truly what the keto is about is, in layman's terms, trying to trick your liver into burning more ketones, which requires more proteins. So people go low on that. Again, it's not so much so I also want to point out to people, you can't trick biology.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, I'm going to only eat this, and then my liver is going to burn more ketones, and I'm going to lose weight that way. The reason why people lose weight on that diet typically is because it restricts calories. So you're going to do that, and you're going to lose some weight initially, but you can't trick biology. Sooner or later, it's going to be a problem for you. And they are still in the process of doing some research on what are the long-term effects of people who have gone on the keto diet. And of course, because keto only became real trendy and popular a couple of years ago, they don't have all that research out, but they are finding already that people that went on keto and then stopped, they gain the weight back. It's also not sustainable. So a couple of things to ask yourself before you start one of these diets is it sustainable long-term? Now, I'm also going to put an asterisk on that, because quite often I have people say, well, no, I don't want to stay on it long-term. I only want to use the diet long enough to lose the weight I want to lose, and then I'm off it. Well, what happens then? Gain it all back, because you have no plan in place for how you're going to manage it once you go off the diet. So that's why it's not going to help you. Also, anything that restricts a food group is a red flag. Don't do it. And then thirdly, if you're planning on exercise, which you should be, because again, research has shown that people that do a combination of healthy eating and exercise not only are more successful in the short term with losing weight, but they are more successful in the long term at managing and maintaining the weight loss. So people that just try a lot of hard exercise are not as successful long-term maintaining that. And people that do just nutrition and diet changes, including calorie restriction, are not as successful long-term. So
Interesting. It's so confusing. But then the word carbohydrate even confuses me too, because isn't there like complex carbohydrates, simple what can you just break them down? Like, and how do you know what's what? It's so hard for someone in layman's terms to go to the grocery store and read the carbohydrates and what does it mean? Yeah.
yeah, well, I'll give you a couple of tips and I'll tell you an app you can use that'll really help with that
Okay.
as well. So complex and simple. Simple spikes the blood sugars faster, and those are very processed, refined carbohydrates. This is why people think in terms of bread and that kind of thing. So white breads, any kind of white food product made with white flour is going to spike your blood sugar faster. Complex carbohydrates have a higher fiber content, generally speaking, and will enter the bloodstream more gradually, more slowly, so you don't get the spikes in the blood sugar levels. This is why people get confused too. So if you go to the direction or in the direction of going whole grain and not just whole wheat, but whole grain kinds of things, you're going to be more successful. Again, it's just refined white, kind of white rices, white breads, any kind of bakery thing that has those in, anything that's got a lot of sugar. So if your muffins and those kinds of things. So sugar itself is a carbohydrate. So if you're drinking sugary drinks too, there you go. That's a lot of carbs.
Wow.
Yeah. So, stay away from those. Manage your intake. So people are also, the reason why carbohydrates get kind of a bad rep is because they're so readily available in so many food products. So it's not just breads, it's chips and the crackers and the little snack food. So even, candy bars, that's sugar, sugar, carbohydrates. So all of those kinds of snacky things are carbohydrate rich because they're sugars, or they turn to sugar in your system. So going with a whole grain, when I was in school to be a health coach, one of the instructors said, rule of thumb, take a piece of bread, and if you can take that bread and roll it up and it forms a ball and sticks together, you don't want to eat that.
Oh.
If you take a piece of bread and it's a little more crumbly and it doesn't form a ball in your hand, that's your better bread. So just want something that's a little more like that, and just manage your intake. So people overeat carbohydrates. That's the other thing. We eat them more than we need them. So if you eat them in an amount, and generally speaking, depending on your age and your gender and activity level, you only need between 4 and 6 servings of carbohydrates per day. And then people need to understand what a serving is. So you go get a bagel, and 1 ounce is a serving. If you get one of those bagels in one of the bagel shops, I'm not saying they're not just because they are, but generally speaking, 1 bagel is about 4 servings. So if you have a bagel for breakfast, the whole thing, you've eaten almost all for the day, right? Same with pasta. You take a big scoop of pasta, and that might be 2 or 3 servings in 1 scoop on your plate. So it's just a matter of understanding what your serving size is as well, and trying to just manage that along with your portion sizes of protein in your fruit and veg. So that's a huge thing, I think, with people understanding carbohydrates are necessary. Eat the right sources, eat the right amounts. That's the key right there. Oh, and I was going to mention an app. So an app that I use, and it's free. And
I thought you said a nap. I'm like, nap?
The naps are never bad either. And app. I really like to use it when I shop, and it's called Fooducate, Fooducate. So Fooducate, like educate. And it has a scanner. So when you open the app, you can use the scanner and you can scan the barcode on a food product, and it gives it a grade, A, B, C, D kind of thing. And it will tell you why it gives that price. So if you scan a product and it says it's a C, we're giving this a C minus, you can click on it. It will tell you why. This has too many added sugars. It's got refined, whatever is in that, or it's high in cholesterol, it's high in saturated fat, that kind of thing. And then it will also give you suggestions for a replacement product that would be better. And that's what I like too, because it's one thing to know that this is maybe not the best product, but then which one is? Am I going to stand there and scan 14 different brands, of this product to find the right one? No, you don't need to. Fujikata will tell you just like that. Choose this one.
Interesting. All right.
So it's a little more user friendly, I think. Yeah.
Got it. And what about exercise?
Yeah, I'm going to say people tend to think that exercise should be all about the cardio, and they neglect flexibility almost totally, and they minimize the need for strength training. So here to tell you need all three of those components. Those three are essential. You need all three of them, but you need not to skimp on your strength and your flexibility. And women in particular, in my experience, tend to skimp on the strength training a little bit for a number of reasons. Sometimes women just don't feel comfortable lifting weights, and they don't want to go in the gym because it feels it's less so. Believe me, I've been doing this for 35 years. The gyms are much less male oriented or male dominated anymore. Nevertheless, if you have not had that exposure, it can feel intimidating. It feels like there's a lot of men.
I agree. Yeah.
So every gym generally has orientations and trainers that will take you around, show you how to use things. If not, go to a group fitness class that offers strength training in it and get comfortable with using weights. Or reach out at your local gym and hire a personal trainer to help you learn how to do all of these things and help you get on your path for fitness. But don't neglect that. The reason why, or several reasons why, we lose muscle mass as we age. And so it's really important to keep it. Also, muscle mass, and I'll clarify muscle mass in a moment too. Muscle burns calories more efficiently. So if you don't have good muscle tone, your metabolism is not going to function as well, right? Muscles require a little more calorie burn to them, and they also increase your basal metabolic rate, which helps you. What that means is your basal metabolic rate is the rate at which your body burns calories when you're at rest. And muscle strengthening will help raise that, so you burn them a little more efficiently even while you're resting. Women, again, the comfort level is one reason why women don't do it, but another reason is women often get afraid that they're going to bulk up, and you're not going to bulk up. You're not going to bulk up. You're not.
I've always used to say the same thing.
Yeah, I know. See, it's very common. Women will still, even in a group class, women will go for the lightest weights possible because they don't want to bulk up. No, you're not going to bulk up. So it takes a lot of effort. Let me stress that too. A lot of effort and a lot of training to bulk up. Working out with weights 2 to 3 times a week, which is what's encouraged and recommended by the CDC and the American College of Sports Medicine to hit all your body muscle groups 2 to 3 times a week. I recommend it. Minimum so the recommendation is minimum to really go for 3 if you can. You would have to do that much more than that amount of times, and you would have to really be hitting intensely heavy weights with lots of repetitions and lots of sets to bulk up. Women just don't have the testosterone to do it. And I don't want people to point to women bodybuilders and say, yeah, but they bulked up. They weren't at bulking up. Okay?
Yeah.
They didn't bulk up, because they did it 2 or 3 times a week. Women that are women bodybuilders are training differently than the average woman. And that is because that is their goal. That's what they're doing. But if you just want to gain, and I recommend it, you need to gain some strength. You need to have that strength through the aging process. You need cardio because your heart's a muscle, and the best way to get your heart worked out is to do some cardio. So I'm not saying you don't need cardio. You need to keep the cardiorespiratory system strong through cardio. Just don't neglect your strength training. And flexibility should always be done because that's another aspect that we lose as we age.
Oh, good one. And we don't have to join a gym to work out, right?
No, so many things you can do at home.
And stretching.
There you go, stretch, especially when you sit a lot.
You said
right?
flexibility, and I was like, oh gosh, I feel so stiff right now.
Yeah, people need to stand up and stretch more frequently. One of my favorite ways to do strength training is through body weight. Body weight is something that you do like a squat or a lunge or a push-up or tricep dips. things like that are all body weight oriented. You don't have to have tools. You don't have to have a dumbbell. You don't have to have bands and all of those things. So if you want to work out at home, you can do it that way. If you want to get very inexpensive equipment, Target, Walmart, all those stores offer very inexpensive, really handy little tools. You don't have to get the whole home gym kind of situation going. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Margy. How do we reach out to you?
Reach out to me on Instagram at Almonds and Oranges Health, or you can reach me on inwell.com.
Thank you so much. Looking forward to next time we get to speak. Thank you for debunking these myths today. Really awesome.
Absolutely.
All right. I got to do some strength training. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.